Committee for Prospect High School District 23 on October 10th, 2024 at 7:04 p.m. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Stalinsky? Here. Mr. Gradanis?
Here.
Dr. Long?
Here.
Mrs. McLeany?
Present.
Mr. Nordmark?
Here.
Mrs. Peters? Mr. Novak?
All right.
Tonight's Pledge of Allegiance is going to be led by some of the representatives from Betsy Ross's Ambassador, Bulldog Ambassador program. So if we could all stand. So thank you, Bulldog Ambassadors, for leading our pledge. Each year, the Board of Education, which is this group here, we travel to each of the schools on a special day when the schools are presenting their improvement plan. And we always invite students from that school to lead us in the pledge. So thank you for doing that and kicking off what's going to be an awesome meeting. I'm wondering if somebody could raise their hand and tell us what a Bulldog Ambassador is.
A Bulldog Ambassador is a model and a leader.
Model and a leader. What else are ambassadors?
The Bulldog Ambassadors recess to help others.
So sometimes you're helping others during recess? What else do you do? Go ahead.
We make decisions and vote.
So you vote on some things, you make some decisions for the school. And do you have to be in 5th grade in order to be a Bulldog Ambassador? Yes.
No.
You're not 5th graders?
No.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Because you're very mature. You speak so well. What grades are you?
3rd and 2nd.
I don't believe it.
I agree with you. They all look really tall.
Yeah, very much so. So how do you become a Bulldog Ambassador?
They'll choose you if you've been respectful, responsible, and safe.
Who chooses you?
The students in your classroom.
Oh,
All right.
Votes.
Through votes, yeah.
Picking a name for a hat.
Okay, and sometimes it's a random draw. Okay. And how many of you, raise your hand if you were a Bulldog Ambassador last year? One returner.
So are you teaching them everything to do?
A little bit.
Okay.
A little bit helping. Everybody else is new this year.
when do you guys meet for Bulldog Ambassadors?
Normally Fridays at lunch and recess.
During lunch and recess? Do you guys still get to eat?
Yes.
Oh, okay, good.
We eat when the teachers talk.
Oh, that is fabulous.
Good.
But do you get to go to recess then?
No.
You give up recess?
Yes.
Wow, that's pretty impressive.
And do you have some ideas of some of the things you're going to be doing this year at Betsy Ross?
Last year, the ambassador did Uncle Joe's lunches for the homeless people.
Yep.
And this year, I'm not sure what we're doing, but we're gonna vote for something that helps the school
Mm-hmm.
and the people.
So each of the schools runs a service project, and you guys are going to run one, I think, in April or May? April, yeah. Awesome. Mm-hmm.
We also might draw 10 Bulldog books
Okay.
to give other students that are respectable, responsible, and safe.
Who are the teachers that help you with Bulldog Ambassadors?
Miss Gage, Miss Costa, and
Yeah. Awesome.
What's been your favorite part so far?
My favorite part so far was meeting up with my friends and learning new things about being a Bulldog ambassador.
Like when we learn about each other, there's like these cards that are like funny too.
Do you guys like play a game to get to know each other?
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Do you do any of that at home then? Like, do you make your parents play the game?
No.
You should do that tomorrow at
Good,
dinner.
yeah, right.
We don't have the cards.
Oh man. I'm sure your parents are hoping that you should remember them.
Yeah.
And then make your parents do it at dinner on Friday night.
Does anybody who's in second grade now remember what the Bulldog Ambassadors did at the very end of last year when you were still in first?
They did a tour for the first graders.
Yeah, that was new just last year. Do you remember?
They told us about like their favorite part about the school.
Yeah, so at the end of this year, you'll be giving some tours to the first graders and being able to tell them all about Betsy Ross and what the fun things are to do and maybe some ideas of how to make the school even better. Love it.
Pretty awesome.
Any other questions from the board? All right.
Thank you all for coming. It was really nice to meet you all, and you should be very proud of all the work you're doing as an ambassador.
How many of you guys have homework tonight still? Oh my goodness, you better get home and get that homework done.
We're gonna have you guys walk forward and then turn around and face the audience because I'm guessing there are people out there who want to take your picture. Do you think? So come forward toward us, walk all the way up to these tables, and then turn around and face the
I
family.
think the front row might need to switch with the back row.
Yep,
So
okay.
switch. Cut those.
Switch, yep.
Do we want to close Spencer or Spencer? You're right in that.
You guys can forward a little, so you can be right behind.
Yeah, just in the back.
I wonder what that happened to me.
And they're a good-looking group too. I mean, some years not so much. But this is Everybody got what they need? Well, thank you again to our sponsors of the program and to our thanks to all of our families for bringing our ambassadors here. None of you drove, right? You didn't drive yourselves? Okay. So thank you for driving them here. You're welcome, of course, to stay for the rest of our meeting. Or if you've got to get home for homework or other events, you're welcome to do so as well. Great job. Okay.
Of course, naturally there'd be that time. What's Mark today?
I was gonna say, I didn't realize kids can be this cute. We get cuter again. Thanks. Puberty's not really a nice thing. You never know anyone who went through puberty that great. You could just be okay, but not your best years.
Yeah, we still got the street. Yep, no problem.
Okay.
All right, yep.
At each regular and special open meeting, members of the public and district employees may comment on or ask questions of the Board of Education. If you'd like to address the board, please complete the pink form and give it to Mrs. O'Donnell, our recording secretary. Do we have any? All right, communications.
So we have a number of exciting things to share in communications. First is that we want to thank our amazing instructional coaches for their ongoing contributions to the professional learning and the student support that happens in District 23. October 6th is actually recognized as Instructional Coaches Day. And so we thank Lisa Schmidt, Leslie Jasper, Christine Ganick, Kelly Brockway, and Hannah Sutter. We also recognize our special education and multilingual specialists, Abby Cisneros, Carly Sullivan, Aaron Lim, Nina Espinos, and Denise Valadares. Thank you very much for all that you do. October is a busy month and is recognized as National Principals Month. And so we thank all of our building leaders, Dr. Lombados, Ms. Gage, Ms. Mezier, Dr. Nystrom, and Mr. Caper for their outstanding leadership. The week of October 21st through the 25th is recognized as National School Bus Safety Week. And we take this opportunity to thank our partners, First Student, and all of the drivers who serve our community. We'll be doing a little gift for them during that week. We want to recognize our special education program for meeting all of the requirements of the state review. That memo or that document is in the board packet. Again, receiving the LEA designation that we've met all requirements, and we appreciate all that our SPED team does, Chris and Dominique and all of our faculty who provide those excellent services. I've included in the packet also some information about the ISB accountability measures. The state of Illinois will release on October 30th the school report cards, which include the summative designations, and that information is currently under embargo, but we're very pleased with the data that we've seen and look forward to sharing that with the community on the 31st. I shared earlier today a copy of the Community Connections newsletter with members of the Communications Public Relations Committee. We're looking to finalize that in the next couple of weeks and have that hit homes the first week of November. An annual celebration that is not to be missed is the Veterans Day Breakfast and Assembly. It will be held at MacArthur Middle School again in the morning, a breakfast for our community members and invited guests, followed by a concert and speeches and presentations by the kids. And that will be the 7th. And then Sullivan's is the 8th, I want to say. I believe their celebration is the 8th. So that invite is in the packet. Next, we have a new venture this year. We're very pleased to have Sam Alvaro with us. She is our family and consumer science teacher. There have been some new mandates in the state of Illinois for middle schools and high schools teaching career and ed prep. And Sam is here to share a new thing this year that is really exciting. Sam, I won't step on your toes and tell all about it, but it's really
know where
awesome.
to stand so everyone can hear me. Like Dr. A said, I am the family consumer science teacher at MacArthur, and I also take on a role of our support staff, kind of catering to our Tier 1 Gen Ed students with social emotional support. There has been legislation that has been new where we, from 5th grade up, have to implement some type of a college and career readiness. I've already done that in past years with 7th and 8th grade. Implementing in 6th grade this year is new, but what I have found both in our support side of stuff and family consumer science side of stuff is that being in District 214, a lot of times college is pushed, and there's nothing wrong with that, but if we are being realistic with our demographics and who we cater to as a whole, we have some students that are not college bound, and that is okay. So I wanted to create an opportunity for students to realize you can still be successful in life without necessarily going to college. And this is also a way in which we can connect to D214 pathways, because I do a lot of work with that, and a lot of times when students go into their freshman year, the high schools ask them to choose a pathway. Well, students don't know what pathways exist, and when they see the names of pathways, they don't know what that involves. So this gives them an opportunity to also figure that out. Because I am limited in seeing all MacArthur students, I also wanted to create an opportunity where I could see everyone. So for 8th grade this year and the community, we're holding this, as I call it, a career open house. It's not a career fair, they're not applying for any jobs yet, it's not an expo, because that kind of goes with a career fair, but it's an open house so that people can kind of see what jobs are out there that the community actually has. So you'll see it on this poster. This is the flyer that we're advertising, and Dr. A has put it on his 411 that he sends out to staff as well. And it kind of lists a little smorgasbord of careers, and these are all people from the community. So I've actually gone out, I've spoken to people, I've visited places, maybe have borderline harassed people to come and be a part of it, because it's not just showing kids what's out there, it's also involving the community, which is part of our strategic plan that we've been talking about since I think even before COVID. So it's a way to kind of tie in all of that and show students that, you know, you could go to a trade school and not get into a ton of student loan debt. You can go and follow a passion and be happy your whole life than doing something you feel like you only are going to do because you want to make a ton of money. My favorite thing I ask middle schoolers is, well, why are you interested in this career? Because you can get rich. All right, well, how are you going to get rich? And they're like, well, I got to do a ton of school. And I'm like, and what about that student loan debt? And they're like, what are you talking about? Like, it's making it a reality, because I also want students to understand that in high school, that is the time to explore everything. That is the time to take advantage of your electives and things you get to choose and trying stuff out. And then we also go over the Harper Promise program, because you may or may not know that they do offer 2 years of free tuition if students can comply with the requirements for that program. And we actually have a Harper rep coming to this as well, with a ton of department heads from Harper, which will help also. The date of this open house is Wednesday, November 20th, so it's the week before Thanksgiving break. There are 2 components. The first component is during the school day, and it is for all of our 8th graders. It will be held during their PE period, and so, because I'm taking over the PE space, so you know, we kind of help each other. But the students will have a connection to their ELA class as well, because we're also going to kind of show them how to do thank you cards afterwards. So their ELA teachers are going to tie that in, and they'll kind of get to talk to whoever they want to. Then there's a community portion, which is the same day from 4:30 to 6:30. This is for anyone and everyone in the community. High schoolers can come. Other middle schoolers can come. I'm sure you all may know someone who goes to surrounding districts, District 21, District 25, and we want them to also know that they can come and see what else is out there. It's not just what they feel is what society tells them to do. We want them to have a plan, and that's kind of why this came about, so that we could cater to all students, but also show them what else is out there.
Awesome.
I hope
It's awesome, and you've
hit
done
on
a ton of work
everything.
on the curriculum in general. When
Yeah.
you're in Sam's room, she's got really cool visuals that align at Wheeling. These are the courses if you're interested in these things. In Hersey, these are the courses if you're interested in these kinds of careers. And this is just another example of a way to kind of branch out. Everybody will get it during the school day, but then we have extended the invite to our other feeder districts, and Sam did a great job of just pulling all this together, recruiting all of the volunteers. So we just want to thank you for that, and we look forward to an awesome first career open house ever.
Yeah, so please tell it to everyone,
Yeah.
whoever, like, we just want everyone to be able to have opportunities. So thank you guys, I appreciate
Well,
it.
thank you. This is, you know, we saw this in the packet, but this is like, I'm so glad you came here and walked through it, because this is really, really cool. And so, thank you for all the effort in putting this together, and really hope you get a great turnout for
Hoping
it.
it's a success.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
And thanks in advance to all of our community partners, the other agencies that we work with, the folks that Sam has invited for sending representatives, because we've got a number of agencies and partners that will be here for the kids. So that's just a great job. Speaking of great job, hold on to your hats, because Miss Gage is up next with the Ross School Improvement Team, and they're going to present an overview of their goals for this year. If you guys would come forward, I am going to pull up your presentation. I don't think I can.
Dr. A, you're going to I don't have my, we're at the old age, so the being able to see from a far distance might be hard. Okay, good.
Which one is it?
It was the Canva.
Oh, it's in Canva. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah. Sorry.
Well, we could do. Oh, sorry. I went by myself.
I thought we were sitting over here.
Oh,
so
I'll
I was
come
waiting
over.
to see where you were.
Yeah. No, you can go over there.
I was just looking
Sorry,
to see where
one
you were.
second. Spencer, I'm going to present,
My team.
share my screen
Sounds good.
so that you can see it at home as well.
Now we're like deciding who's taller.
I'm short. There you go.
There you go.
Perfect.
Okay.
Hi everybody, welcome to Betsy Ross School. This is the Betsy Ross State of the School, and this is our dynamic district improvement team. We have with us,
Beatrice Chen.
and you can share your position as well.
Yeah, sure. I'm the school social worker, one of the school social workers at Ross.
I'm Ingrid Hennihan, and I am a learning behavior specialist, special education teacher.
Nadine Hubert, second grade teacher. Tina Stacy, third grade teacher.
And I have the honor of working with them as a building principal at Betsy Ross.
So we're going to start with just our mission and vision. So the mission statement is, it is a mission for Process Heights School District 23 to engage all students in experiences that inspire each to grow as a learner, an individual, and a community member. Similarly, for the vision statement, engaging all students in experiences that inspire each to grow as learners, individuals, and also community members.
Okay, sorry. Something that has started at Ross and Sullivan was IDEAS, which is Innovation, Discovery, Exploration, Awareness. And the students go once a week. It's a new special. Inside the class right now, they're learning executive functioning skills, but each quarter they're going to be learning a new skill that they're going to be focusing on, and the kids really enjoy it. It's just a great space for them to learn. Last year, teachers across the district collaborated and to see if we wanted a new science curriculum, and we decided to keep with Mystery Science. It's a great program that the kids absolutely love, and it's very hands-on. 3 times a year, okay, I'm sorry. So some of our testing that we do iReady Diagnostic 3 times a year. It's used in order for us to kind of just see where the students' needs are, and I guess what we should be focusing on. I'm sorry, I'm not doing very well.
Yes, you are. You are doing fine.
So we do that 3 times a year. We've done our first one, and then later on in the year we'll do the second, and then we just want to make sure that we're seeing growth, and we show the kids and make sure they see if they're making growth and what they're kind of working towards. We're also working on exploring standard-based instructional practices, so we're talking about moving over to standard-based report cards within the next few years.
Which is a huge transition. When you think about standards-based, like you think like, oh, it's just easy, and it's really not. It's a shift because we grew up off of A, B, C, D. So it's like when you think of moving to meeting, succeeding, exceeding, it's a mindset shift, not only for parents. I think parents will be okay. I think sometimes it's us as educators. We will have the most challenging transition. So it's going to take some time. We thank Dr. Curtis for leading us in that effort. And most school districts, like they touch it, they move away from it. So I think we're going to do it this time. We have the team in place to get it done. All right, so iReady data. So we have, when students take the assessment, as Nadine mentioned, it's done 3 times a year. after the assessment is done, it kind of categorizes our students and their success and to let us know where they are. So when we look at the data charts, if you see something that's in green, that means those kids are above average. When they come in, those students have already mastered the skills that they have at that current grade level, and they have probably mastered some of the skills from the next grade level already. So when we see kids in the green in the fall, we're like, yes! Like we know we're going to keep pushing those students so that they can continue to grow. When we see our students in the yellow category, we know that those students, they're on target. We are exactly where we need them to be. So yellow, sometimes we mean this caution. No, it's like they're ready to go. When we see our students in red, that means, okay, we need to push a little bit more support. Our students are below grade level, perhaps 2 grade levels below, not expected. The good thing is it's fall. We have the March, or sorry, what do we do? December, and then we have in the May to catch them up. And not only that, but we just have a phenomenal team that's in place to offer all of the supports to get our students the support that they need. All right, this is really teeny tiny. So, all right, so when we look at our overall fall iReady reading data, it looks a little bit like, ooh, they have some red in there. Yep, we do. We have about 23% of our students right now who are in the red. That is not alarming to us at all. We know that, yep, do we have some work to do? You better believe we do. But we have it in place. But when we look at the yellow, we have 36%. And when we look at the green, we have 26%. And then we have 15%. So that means 77% of the students at Betsy Ross are reading on grade level. When our kids go away for summer break, like they're prepared. When they leave here for spring, we know what they know. And sometimes, I'm a mom, sometimes over summer, we were lazy. And then we hit that summer slump. My daughter didn't always read every single day during the summer, so we hit a slump. So when we saw our results and saw that the kids were at 77%, we know we're in a good place. We have some room to grow, but we also know that we have a cushion to stand on and to keep pushing the kids to do even better. So this is our second grade data. When we take a peek at our second graders, what's happening, and we talked about this as a staff, we went over everything. This data comes from our first graders, because they're coming off of the spring of the first graders, and the efforts of the kindergarten teachers, and then our second graders. So right now, overall, as our second graders, 82% of those students are at or above grade level. Our third graders, they are 74% at or above grade level, right? So we have our kindergarten, first, our second graders, all the input that they've put into place for it, we have 74% of the students, and right now we have about 184 third graders in place. We know we've got some work to do, but again, we have the team to get it done. When we look at our overall math data, 77% of our students are on target and at grade level for math overall. I don't feel like I'm standing in your way, Tracy.
You're fine. You're fine. I can see.
Okay. And then our, we'll do a personal one if we need to. Second grade, we have 77% of our students who are at or above grade level. And then third grade, we have 78% of our students who are at or above grade level. When the students take this diagnostic, what it does is it gives the teacher an idea of this is what they know. This is where they need support. Because if a kid already knows something, there's no sense in us spending weeks upon weeks of trying to get them to, they already know it. Now we need to excel and help to push them. Or we also know, okay, this student may need a little bit more support in this area. That's why we have Title I tutors. We have our LDS teachers. We have our reading support teachers. We have our classroom teachers who come in and give the students the support that they need. Teaching, learning, and innovation. It's been a busy week. We got this.
Okay, so I'll speak to professional development and teaching and learning and innovation. You can see the bullets up there. We're continuously working together to ensure that we're implementing inclusive practices for all. Some of the second and third graders were nominated to participate in the unified program. They're working with physical education teachers and to promote the inclusion of students. and staff collaborates to provide differentiated instruction to students at their level during our lit plus time. We pull groups and make sure that, as Ms. Gage was saying, kind of using that opportunity to help kids get the extra assistance that they might need. We have some multi-learner liaisons who work with students. We've adopted the SAFE framework. Supports are in place for our Tier 1 students who are multilingual with social emotional needs and other behavior needs. And our staff participates in instructional rounds that allow us to focus on the learning that's going on at hand.
And so these are just our, the strategic plan that at Betsy Ross, we have said, this is where we own it. Because the strategic plan, a lot of times, we think, oh, that's a district initiative. It's actually all of ours. Anybody who works for District 23 and our parents and our community members, we all have ownership in it. So this is where Betsy Ross is taking off and we're sharing.
I'm going to talk about family and community partnerships. These are some of the things that we've been doing or that we're going to be doing within the district and here at Betsy Ross. Every year, all of the buildings provide a curriculum night for parents so that they can learn about grade level curriculum and expectations. Fall parent-teacher conferences are coming up in November. They are 2 evenings in November. New this year, we're doing a family welcome dinner for new families to D23. That will be in early December. On October 22nd at Ross, we will be having our Ross Literacy Night. And the theme this year is the world of reading. In the bottom left picture, that is a picture from last year when we had our literacy night, which the theme was like s'mores, camping, and s'mores.
The s'mores were that was like
s'mores and
eating party. You tell where our priorities lie.
And all s'mores.
Clearly, I like s'mores and I like the theme. S'mores. We focus on s'mores. New this year in February, we're going to try a virtual bingo. And also a family and science night, or math and science night, in the spring. And also, I know our Bulldog ambassadors were talking about last year when we did our service learning project for Uncle Pete's. This year, we're thinking of trying something different, hosting a night of service in the spring as one of our, or the service learning project.
Alright, so for the facilities and financial management, there's just been a lot of really cool things happening, and so three third grade classrooms have received new desks and storage units just as a furniture replacement. Kim, Stephanie, and Amy had actually worked with architects to discuss the phase 1 of the library renovation. So as we're actually here, just looking into just what we can do. Another thing is that our Ross Garden has moved from over here to over there. Direction challenge.
Give that to the new person.
Yeah. I've heard great things about it. But I brought a lot of seats, so hopefully it will be. But we also continue as staff to really work with the authorities to make sure that this is a safe area and we're having our emergency protocols in place as well.
When you look at that picture, like, doesn't that look like a great picture? It makes me like get all teary eyed, like, oh my gosh, that's a beautiful building, beautiful district.
A few things that we also been doing, or not me. Great people, great skills have been doing is the sighting. Another thing is there's new windows. I had a new window in my office and it looks great. I open it up sometimes for a nice wind, so they did a really good job. And last thing, there was just exterior cameras making sure that another layer of security when it comes to making sure that staff and students are safe here.
This is a picture. So Don had an idea, I believe it was Don, had an idea that on the first day of school, each school represented wearing a particular color, but we were able to stack Chris Alms and to do just a Betsy Ross picture. And when I look at it, it really just makes me smile because we have a great team. Is it always perfect? Nope. We go through, we work closely together. We're going to disagree, but in the end, everybody that comes here every single day, we work hard for kids. And we do, and one time I said to the staff, I said, man, I said, you are aggressive. And she said, it's passion. And I was like, okay. But it is passion. It is passion for staff, and many of the people have worked here for decades. Some people are new, but when we come in, we worked hard, and we work for our kids, especially when you see like the kids who are here. Like, how could you not want to come to work and work hard for them? They make you want to come in every day and give everything that you have because they deserve it. So thank you for coming today. Thank you for our wonderful staff, district improvement team, and our wonderful staff that's at home probably grading and doing everything else under the sun. We appreciate it. Thank you to the board for everything.
Before you guys duck out, are there any questions?
Oh, yeah,
This is our newest employee. Yeah. Answer all the historical.
So I knew we kept the mystery science curriculum, but does that get updated? Like, are there new and fresh? Like, is there any like new training or anything that I have to do?
Yes, there are. Every year they do add something new. Sometimes they take some things away, but for this year they did add quite a bit. Honestly, and it's nice because it is laid out so nice because it's perfect for the kids. Like, you could pause it, you could say, okay, we're going to keep watching this. That shows them what to be doing and how to do it. And then there is the objective is the kids know it by the end, like what is going on and what we're taking away from it.
And Doug is the guy that usually does the teaching, and he's just so organized. Like, the kids love Doug. Every once in a while there's somebody different, but it's so step by step. I mean, and then he even replays it after he's gone through it. He does like the thumbs up when it's time for you to then go do it. So
yeah, I feel like it was really created truly for kids. Like they really had the kids in mind when they were creating it.
Mm-hmm. So Mr. Nordmark, if you want to have dinner interesting, say like, tell me about that.
Yes.
And see what you get.
He's gonna get some bonus points.
So our staff has really also been working hard with the new change in the school day, the hours, the first couple of days of the parking lot. It was like, ooh, ooh, and parents said some fruitful things to us, and it was like, But today I was outside, and I'm usually by the crossing guard, and I was like, look at this well-oiled machine, and it only comes that way, number one, by the parents, by doing as we ask, because it's really a system, and by the staff being in place. And a lot of times it's like, well, hey, this person has a meeting. Can somebody jump in? People jump in, and they help out. So we appreciate everything that staff does.
Thank you. Awesome. Thank you very much.
I think we're moving on to committee reports, right?
Yes.
I'll kick it off with buildings and sites. We met on 10-1. Talk about kicking the month off like right.
Yeah.
Last we talked about the last two windows that were missed during the installation of the windows and doors, and those will be done over Thanksgiving. The dollars are still in contingency. Finance might talk about that. Finishing work being done kind of all around, just small things like flashing and caulk and other things. Talked about generally speaking, the window and door project basically being done with the exception of these tiny little things. Plant Your Roots was completed. We talked about that a bit. Discussed the Prospect Heights baseball, wanting electrical for the baseball field and for shed lights and scoreboard. and perhaps later to light the field, but not right this moment. We touched on LED lighting retrofit, which was a really cool discussion, and I think for everyone a long time coming. It's kind of nice to see that everyone's kind of moving in that direction. We hit on landscaping proposals and talked about hardscape and labor, board approval needed. I obviously talked about that. And then budget was part of the window and door funding, so no additional dollars were needed for that, and it was approved proactively. I think we talked about just moving forward with the board with kind of that funding, and then discussed tree keepers donation of tree installation on the west side of Mac, which was very cool.
Yeah.
I think that hits everything. Did I miss it? Yeah. Brian, comments?
Yeah, we met last week. We went through the budget calendar. We talked about the kind of the new transportation contract which you had tonight. Talked about the LED lighting as well. It's just seeing all those proposals in there. That's really incredible. Hopefully the amount of cost savings that we can hopefully realize from that. So that was great. And then we talked about the landscaping item as well. That's an action item for tonight. I think that was really about it. That was a shorter meeting last week. So I think that's it from the finance side.
Yeah. Cool. Carol, NSSEO.
NSSEO met last night. Their shining star was chosen in honor of Augmentative and Alternative Communications Month. So this is an 8th grade student from District 15 who's at minor, and she uses an iPad with it's called a LAMP application, which allows her to communicate during the day and participate in group lessons and advocate for herself. So she was honored last night.
Sure.
I've reported in past years that NSSEO has a partnership with a company called HumanX for the last 4 years, I believe. They use a program called Insight Text that measures organizational climate and culture. So NSSEO has done this the last 4 years. This past year they had almost 400 staff participate. They take a survey. The survey has, I think they said 90 questions or so. It covers a number of dimensions of climate and culture, and the data from this kind of informs the continuous improvement plan and climate and culture in different buildings or different programs. So that presentation was last night, and for the most part, their results are positive. Dr. Schnorr did an update on activities for the past week or so, and also reminded everyone that NSSEO's Fall Fest is at Sunrise Lake on October 26th. So if anybody wants to go, feel free. Also, I'm not going to read them, I'm just going to kind of paraphrase. Dr. Schnorr has kind of provided each board member with information to kind of keep up to date, keep current on the strategic plan project. So in the strategic plan process, we've had a timeline, and this is ongoing. Later this month, NSSEO will, HYA, who's kind of the consultant and facilitating the focus groups and the interviews and the surveys and all of that. They will be presenting NSSEO, the cabinet, with what they call the environmental scan. And that is a culmination of all the data that they've acquired over the past 4 or 5 months. Let's see. And that is going to serve kind of as the catalyst for the writing of the plan, ultimately, which they plan to do in December. So the board will be presented with that data in November, and then each district will get that data. And then following that, each member district is to designate 3 people to be a part of this writing of the strategic plan. And that is in December, and there are 2 dates, there are full days where the writing will take place. So it's December 3rd and 10th. So I think I covered everything. All right, what else happened? The board approved a number of policies at their second reading. They were pretty much, routine updates. The board has asked that at every board meeting, there is an accounting of the staffing level of all of NSSEO. And so they presented that last night, and there was a clarification between, they were saying that they're not quite fully staffed. However, the projections for enrollment are based on what, like at the end of the year, how many students they will have. So they don't have all those students yet. So for now, they're sufficiently staffed, even though they keep looking for people as new students are brought in. There was also discussion, a majority, it turns out, of the NSSEO employees are actually related service staff. And these are social workers, psychologists, speech and language paths, OTs, PTs, nurses, and there's a lot of information that legal information, medical information, school rules that they need to follow, best practices that they want to foster, so there was a request to create a stipend for leadership for each of these disciplines. And that was approved by the board. These stipends, it's a total of $20,000, which will be covered by their Medicaid revenue for this year, and then will be part of the budget going forward.
How many people is that?
6.
Okay.
6. And then there was a facility update from Gavin that I don't even know where to start with it. You'll recall that in the spring, over the past year, NSSEO has identified a number of facility issues with their building, specifically Kirk. And some of them are critical and they need to be addressed right away. They brought in, the board approved for architect and engineer to come in and just take a total assessment of all the facilities and what's going on. They identified what needs to be done right away at Kirk, and they presented the board with a $5 million price tag to do that. They talked to all the CSBOs, and so that each district could determine how they would fund it. There was an agreement on each member district contributing so that the total contribution to that would be $1 million. Then after the board did not meet in the summer, which is common the past many years, but after the last board meeting, there was more information that came forward, and that price tag went to $9.5 million.
So almost doubled?
Almost doubled, right. But it was never brought before the board until last night. Although the CSBOs were made aware of it last week, or about 2 weeks ago, right.
Are they surprised?
To say the least, yes. So we're going forward for this year to what everybody agreed to, and then Gavin said that the CSBOs are meeting to determine how to proceed in subsequent years. And this is a project that is a 3-year project.
Mm-hmm.
That pay out in 3 years.
Right.
Did I cover everything?
And that's only at Kirk? That's only.
Yeah, that's only for HVAC and Kirk. So, yeah, but ongoing conversations between superintendents, the CSBOs, the student services directors, and then again at the board level. They, currently again, we're talking potential cost. So they put bids on the street. Those are supposed to be opened at the 24th of this month. Whatever that number actually comes in at is going to drive further conversation. If it stays at the $10 million range, I think it's going to have to require everybody to take a step back because it's significantly more than was projected. If it comes in at 6.5, I think there are some other conversations. They are using all of their available funding sources. I think our concerns are about the balance between putting all of your eggs into that one basket, knowing that there are these other financial facility needs. And if that's the most important top priority, then know that we're committing that allocation for the next 3 years, that we're not doing some of the other things. So we want to make sure just that, I mean, we're supportive, we know the work needs to get done. We just want to make sure that it's within a context of the right priorities for the long term for all of their facilities, and not just because it's the first one that we're working on. So,
but it seems weird to be doing it in the middle of the strategic plan, right? Like how does this? I mean, don't you feel like that this? I mean, I think you almost feel like this. Like, why would we make a $10 million investment when we're waiting for this report?
Yeah, that's part of it. They did start the facilities investigation earlier in the process, but
it's in the last year.
That's one of the kind of governance questions that we have is. We want to see the whole plan before you go down any one particular path. So there's ongoing discussions about the actual, this specific project, but then also more broadly, like, what does the process look like in terms of making these kinds of decisions and allocating those kinds of funds? As a co-op, they don't have the same revenue avenues. They can't levy and they can't, so they're dependent upon all of us as member districts. So really it's working collaboratively with the co-op and all of the feeder districts, the sender districts, to work in concert rather than have one kind of out in front of the other. So we're anxiously waiting the 24th bid opening, and then there's another board meeting in November where we will likely have some other conversation about what direction they're going to go in.
And they had a mandatory what's the pre-bid?
Yeah, the pre-bid.
Yeah, and that was this week, and they had a good turnout.
Yeah.
So.
They work on the minor windows. And they have
Yeah, that was a project.
That.
It was a project this summer. They did the windows at Minor, the exterior windows.
That got squared away though.
Yeah.
Timber Ridge has the other.
Yeah,
That's
I
the
thought
issue
that
I'm
was
thinking
done.
of.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Timber Ridge, that was the next discussion. Was,
Good.
Timber Ridge. There's been a mold problem identified at Timber Ridge, and that's being remediated. I think they have remediated everything, but now they have to go into each unit and make adjustments so that this doesn't happen again. And they're waiting on the insurance.
It was based on humidity from the air, from the cooling, from the air conditioning?
No, apparently this is something that they said it has been a problem. They didn't realize it was a problem, you know, but they're saying that some of it's been there for a long time.
But some of it was also in the new part of the building.
Some of it was like in the new the new classrooms that are part of the gym addition.
So everything currently is remediated and safe. They're in the areas where they've got concern, they're blocking that's not being used. The other areas where the air handlers are operating are all good. They've basically done a short-term Band-Aid. The long-term question is, what is insurance going to pay for that, and what's that total package going to look like to actually fix the problem long-term? And that will require them going into every HVAC unit and swapping all the filters and other things out.
So that was the meeting.
Just one more on the
That's a heavy
HVAC,
thing.
right? So
Yeah.
did the scope of the project change? Like, what accounted for the estimated cost doubling over the summer?
I think, you know, when you know, like when you have a project at your house and you're like, oh, it's going to cost $10,000, and then you start, you know, pulling
Okay.
things out and looking, and so that's part of it.
Okay, so that was just a bad preliminary estimate.
Well,
That's what I'm
I
thinking.
think-
Yes,
Okay.
it was the.
You can do that as a
I-
homeowner, but
Well, it's the, I can tell you what I think is going to need to happen, but until I pull that unit out
Yeah.
and see what the guts look like behind and what the walls conditions are behind and how much more is necessary, there really isn't HVAC system related, and that's what I think where they found. I think the biggest issue that we're hoping to modify and change is developing a process by which we're giving directed vote to our board representative. Because in a situation like this, for example, Carol is authorized by this board to represent, but what does that mean in terms of obligating the district to XYZ price tag, whatever it may be? And so that's one of the governance structures that we're looking to implement. When we do that for directed vote for,
Why'd you point at me?
I'm pointing at you because you're going to get nominated in a little bit for IASB, and that costs us nothing. But for but for big ticket items, we don't have any directed sort of vote.
I mean, I can make it cost us something.
No, you're good.
Okay.
But
well, and just I mean, there have been things brought before the board that, you know, it's like, well, where did this come from? You know, we didn't hear anything, and so I think that all plays into it.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, Dr. Schnorr has provided information, specific information to each board member, and you know, we need you to convey this to your board, which is a good thing too. everybody conveys the same thing.
Yeah, I do appreciate the very direct message, like exactly what we need to hear, which is nice.
So we'll have to stay tuned on the HVAC project, because as it stands right now, I don't know that it's moving forward in its current position, but we'll have to wait and see what the actual costs are, and then, right.
And then is it, just a question, is it the same impact to each district, or is it proportionate?
Yeah, it's
to
all
your-
proportionate.
Got it.
Yeah, it's like everything else.
Right.
Right, I was just wondering if it was proportionate.
I think just in general, like, we're about 5%.
Yeah.
Right, and so like when you hear that.
Ours is what,
Just
For
for-
us,
just
the
for-
contribution towards the $1 million was $58,000,
Right,
and that
exactly,
was
right.
included in our budget.
Right. And so, so like if it's if it's $1 million going back to the feeder districts, ballpark, it's about 50,000 of
right.
us. Just
Yeah,
as a-
I just was wondering
yeah.
where we were in that ask.
Thanks, Carol.
Thank you, Carol.
Thank you, Carol.
Moving on to the consent agenda, I think we may have a need to split it.
I don't think so.
regular minutes,
I think
executive
everybody
session
was here.
minutes from the 19th.
Bryn,
Oh, Bryn, you
Yeah.
were absent.
yeah,
I'll be abstaining.
so.
Oh, we have
yeah,
enough
we
to
can-
You
That's
you
how
get
it
enough
works.
that you can.
We have enough to abstain.
Oh, I abstain.
Oh.
Usually.
And then we also have the personnel report for October and the second read of Press Policy 116. There are 5 policies. These were presented last month. These are connected to Title IX.
We have a motion?
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Alright, Becky, can you write Becky?
I'm right here.
Right.
Mrs.
Do we have a
McLean,
second?
that's me.
I'll second.
Alright. Carol,
I'm in it.
roll call please.
Mrs. Boutwinski?
Yes.
Mr. Grodanis?
Yes.
Dr. Long?
Yes.
Mrs. McClaney?
Yes.
I forgot about it.
You
I
didn't
forgot
know
about
he was
Spencer.
here.
Abstain.
Mr. Novak?
A 4.
Yes.
Yes. That threw me off.
Yeah.
Motion
501.
carries 501. Thank you. Alright.
Yeah, no. Poor Spencer just staring at me.
Hey man.
No, he's staring at Don.
No, I know.
Alright, well, good to see you, Spence. Moving on to committee reports, is that right?
Financials.
Financial report, yep.
Financials.
Oh, sorry.
It's Bryn.
Oh, Brandon.
Look through all of it this month.
Thanks.
Lighter than some of the past times I've done it, so, but everything was straightforward, nothing really crazy. Expenses are what they need to be, so that is what it is. So, motion to approve the financial report as presented.
Super. Second.
Second by Brian. Roll call please.
Mrs. Boutwinski?
Yes.
Mr. Grodanis?
Yes.
Dr. Long?
Yes.
Mrs. McClaney?
Yes.
Mr. Nordberg?
Yes.
Mr. Novak?
Yes, motion carries 6-0. Superintendent's report.
We're going to jump into a programs and services presentation, but I missed a communication item. I apologize. We are super excited to announce that the ECDEC team, our early childhood team, received again the gold standard when they get assessed by the state. That happened last spring, and we just found out that they were awarded the gold status, which is like 3 golds in a row, 4 golds in a row. So they continue to knock it out of the park. So congratulations to our early childhood team and
Congrats.
everybody
Congrats
who works with that. The other. You have it in your presentation. Okay, wait, then I won't. Then I'm not going to step on your toes. Let me pull that up. Was that a Canva or a Google Drive? Programs and services. Thank you. Yep, let me just pull this up and present it so Spencer can see it.
I know, right? This is over there.
Oh, us too. Okay.
Not here.
Sit in the audience.
So each year we have a couple of opportunities for reporting out on our student services. We do one in the fall and one in the spring. So Dr. Curtis and Dr. Sroka and Dominique Guza, as well as our fabulous team of coaches and support folks, are going to share with you a little highlight of our student services programs and services.
All right. Okay, so we're going to highlight a few of our programs and services within the district tonight. Some of them are our multi-tiered systems of support, our early childhood programs, our student services, multilingual programs, our coaching programming, and a few other services. To kick things off, we're going to talk about our multi-tiered systems of support in the district. And first, what is a multi-tiered system of support? So this has been around for a few years now. You guys have probably seen a similar slide to this for a few years now. Basically, under one umbrella, it brings together academic services as well as supports for our social emotional learning. And when you look at that triangle there, you'll see that approximately 80% of our student population receives Tier 1 services, which is the green at the bottom. Approximately 15% receives Tier 2 services, and the other 5% at the top receives our most intensive interventions, which is Tier 3. A timeline of our MTSS committee within the district. The first 2 years, we started with a PBIS, our Positive Behavioral Interventions and Support. We started with a reboot, so kind of a refresh of those systems which have been in the district for ages now. We just wanted to refresh those systems, and that's where we started. Then from there, for the next 2 years, we started to work on our alignment and procedures of the actual MTSS process. Something that was big for us during that time was the creation of a handbook, mainly with academics at that time. The goal was to have an inclusive behavior and academics, but we started at that point with the academic side. And then at the end of that timeline, we began to shift to our social emotional learning needs. And then for the past 2 years and continuing this year, we shifted to our social emotional part of that handbook. And we have also, over the past 2 years, we've adopted a SAFE framework, a student accountability framework within the district, which we've now rolled out successfully to our families and students. And then this year, our goals for our program is we're starting with Tier 3, so with our most intensive, we've gotten through a lot of our strategies and been talking about Tier 2, and now we're working on Tier 3. We're also going to be working on the key components of our school behavior plan, and then once we have those established, we'll be continuing with our building-based implementation.
All right. So early childhood, we had the opportunity to hear a little bit last year about early childhood as we worked on our committee. So we adopted the Creative Curriculum Cloud and have been working through implementation of that. So we will have 2 meetings this year to really focus on furthering that implementation and also looking at our assessment component for early childhood. But in general, early childhood services here in District 23 encompasses 2 different things. One is special education, and then the other is preschool for all. So preschool for all is a grant-funded at-risk program. So we're getting funds from the state to provide instruction for students who may be at risk of learning loss, access to appropriate play, things like that. So, and then our special education program is something we're required to provide. It's not grant funded. And that is students are referred either through early intervention, which is services for 0 to 3, or through our screening process, and we have to identify them as having special education needs in order to qualify for the program. So preschool for all, we have 60 spaces for those students through the grant. The 40 are half day, 20-hour full day. We are very, very full. We have 3 half-day sections or spots left and 7 full-day spots left. So we have a screening on Friday, tomorrow. And the students are served in what's called a blended classroom, and that is for students who are at risk as well as students who have special education needs. We partner with ECDEC, which Don had mentioned. It's the Early Childhood Developmental Enrichment Center, and they actually provide support in writing the grant, which is really difficult to do. They help us with making sure we're following all the rules, because there's a lot of them, and that's what allows us to get that and achieve that gold standard, making sure that we have the right things in place for students that are required through the grant. Next. Early childhood special ed, like I said, through an evaluation process, students are learning either in that blended classroom or in a smaller special education classroom. We're currently serving 25 IEP students. By the end of the year, we will be likely around 60 IEP students. And they qualify, which is something that's very different from kindergarten and up. They qualify when they turn 3. So that's October, November, December, January, February, all through the year, we are bringing in new students, new 3-year-olds. So it's just a very different from everybody starts kindergarten in August. So go ahead, next slide. And that I mentioned, so the Accelerate Illinois is that body that comes in and evaluates anyone who is getting grant dollars, making sure that we're following all the proper rules and setting up the program appropriately. So, good job, EC team. I guess I'll just keep talking. Okay. Student services, special education. The district is obligated to locate and identify children who might be entitled to special education services. We do that through a variety of different ways. You heard about preschool screening. You've heard about MTSS. That's a way we do that. We do universal screenings like you heard from Ms. Gage around the data that we collect. And we also have the ability as a parent to, through the notification in the handbook, to say, I have concerns about my kid, so I want to refer them.
So I'll talk a little bit more about just special education programming in general. So we'll go into a little more details on special education and general education, special education outside of general education, and then programs outside of District 23. This is just a nice visual that you can see of the continuum of services that are provided, starting with general education as the least restrictive, all the way up to home hospitalization or residential placement. And that picture is of one of our students doing a little coffee cart action, which is fun in action vocational skills. So special education and general education supports the majority of the students in District 23. They participate for most of their day in the general education setting with their same age peers. Related services are typically either provided in the setting or in a small pull-out group outside of the classroom. And then these students just have a variety of needs that include maybe some speech and language delays, ADHD, learning disabilities, among others.
And I get to talk about our self-contained programs. So we have now 2 in the district, one that's like a toddler, that's in its 2nd year. And my counterpart, Abby Cisneros, would be here tonight, but her baby spiked a fever, so she wasn't able to join us. But she is one of our special ed specialists, and she supports our SAIL classrooms, which are really focused on students with developmental and communication needs. And they're provided with a curriculum that really supports them in developing those life skills. And what's wonderful about our program is that they also get opportunities to be with their typical peers, which is pretty special. And then Strive, which is in its infancy, our 2nd year. This is our self-contained program that supports students with significant social, emotional, and behavioral needs. And really what we're focused on, I know we had introduced it last year, our new mission and vision, but really focusing for those students on cultivating healthy relationships, gaining self-regulation strategies, and strengthening responsible decision-making skills. And one of the things we love with both programs is really focused on family partnerships.
And then Dr. Nystrom, where are you? Oh, there you are back there. Dr. Nystrom and I are very happy to share that we have won our 2nd national banner for Unified Champion Schools at MacArthur. So we were just notified it was posted through social media, and then we got our official email this week with the proof of the banner, which we're going to change a little bit. But so excited for our next slide.
They had an awesome unified game tonight, actually.
They did have a soccer game too.
Yeah.
And so then the last kind of most intensive need for support are students who are receiving services outside of the district. We currently have 9 students who are attending therapeutic day school programs. Those are the schools that currently our students go to. And we continue to work with NSSEO, and Cove is the other school where we have a student to program for those kiddos.
All right, next up we're going to talk about some of our multilingual programming in the district. We're going to kick things off with some data for you. So, how many languages are spoken in the district? There are currently 49 different languages spoken within District 23 homes. There are over 55% of our students have languages other than English spoken in their home. Very interesting number there. Over on the left-hand side, you'll see a graph, a pie chart there with all of the languages spoken in our district, and just kind of how it looks when you piece them all together, with the top 4 languages highlighted for you. The languages that are most often spoken in District 23, other than English, are Spanish, Polish, Russian, and Ukrainian, which is why when you see our newsletters, you'll see that those are the languages that we translate in those documents. And how many multilingual learners are in District 23? You can take a look at this data for yourself, but a couple things that I want to highlight. You'll notice that those numbers fluctuate a bit there. In the top row, one thing that's I think important to know is while those numbers vary, if you look at the percentages of our multilingual students when compared with our total population, the percentage of multilingual students when compared with those total numbers increases over that time period 1 to 3% each year. So it does continue to rise. When you look at our newcomers, we've been over this data before and how those compare, but just to look at this year's number, you might look at it for a second and say that number looks a little bit low. You'll see that arrow on the right-hand side next to it. The reason it looks lower is because the numbers from last year are from the end of the year. The number for this year is from right now. So this number last year was at 50-something at this point in the year. So just to give you an idea of what that looks like, it will rise and actually has risen since last week when we made this slide. So just something to remember that. Okay, we're gonna do this a little backwards. Normally we'd introduce these people, but we're just gonna let them go right in and we'll introduce them later.
Remember so what is a multilingual learner? We talked about this at a presentation last year, but I'm going to say it again because it shows how awesome our district is. Over the years, we've had ELs, ESL, ELL, so many terms for them, and the common denominator there is the E for English. As a district, we've adopted the term ML because it's not focused on learning English. It's focusing on including every part of the child, every language, every part of their background, rather than trying to focus on learning English. It's accepting them for who they are and where they come from. So we just love this new inclusive term. And our goals for the multilingual students in our district are to help them become proficient in English, listening, reading, speaking, and writing, which are the 4 language domains, and to help them and their families preserve their native language and the cultural heritage that they have. And a newcomer is a smaller part of the ML population. Typically, we have thought of them as coming to the country and not knowing English, but really it's anyone who's just moved to the country. Because with that, they might have different dialects of English. They definitely have a different culture. When they move to the United States, there are so many parts of our country, of our school system, the medical system, so many things that they're going through that any newcomer, whether or not they know English or another language also, is somebody that we want to make sure that we provide assistance to. Many times they have trauma that they come from leaving their home. Their families oftentimes lack of communication or just being uncomfortable with using it. And again, not knowing the school system or the community, how to shop at a store situation. So our priority for them first is to help them feel safe and included and comfortable here. And then once we have met that need, then we focus on providing the academic, the programming that we are going to use to teach them. We provide professional development for the teachers, and then we provide anything that they need academic-wise.
So how do we support multilingual students? So these two programs are state designated. The first one is the Transitional Bilingual Program. And that's required when we have 20 or more students in a school building who speak the same language. And then the other program that we have is a Transitional Program of Instruction. So it could be offered in addition to the TBE program, but it is offered when we have 19 or fewer students that speak the same language in the school building. So what's new with our ML programming? Us. So 2 district multilingual teachers, again us, to support newcomer programming. So our focus the last year and then starting this year is just focusing on the newcomers, creating those relationships, making sure that they feel safe from day one. From the minute that they see Jackie at registration, they have something in their home language, and they go home with like something with the school spirit on it, even if it's like a MAC t-shirt. Depending on the grade level, they get a different color. Right away we tell them like you can wear this on Monday and like you can have some swag. So that just makes them feel welcome right from the very beginning. We haven't also improved our multilingual program placement. So now we have a clear idea of our goals within our ML programming. So now we look at testing scores, their background information, what we talk about with the family during our school tours, and we can better build a schedule for them that best supports their needs. Something that we did over the summer, Nina and I, other than spending a lot of time together, we did summer screening right before the school year started, and that made a huge difference. Along with the summer screening, it also welcomed our families into the schools, and they got their own personal school tour, which was awesome. I think that might be a job that I retire too, because I mean, just seeing their faces light up, even if it was through a parent volunteering their translation or interpretation services for us or through an iPad, you could just see them just breathe like a sigh of relief, like, like, you know, my kid's gonna be okay. Like this is a good place. You know, we made the right choice. So that was really important for us to go through the summer screening and give those school tours. We also have new curriculum for our newcomer students. So now we have a curriculum that we can follow and that the students feel comfortable with because it is at their level of English language proficiency. So that's awesome. And it's both for like the younger levels and the older levels. Sometimes what we find is sometimes the newcomer material is just like a one type of curriculum for all, which when you get to middle school, learning the ABCs all over again can be a little childish for them, so it kind of makes it meet at their level of just maturity. Maturity in middle school. I can't believe I said those 2 words together. But yes, the curriculum does that. And then just an improved newcomer liaison process. So we work together to create those relationships in the community, and we provide community resources. So we just pretty much are there for the families and not just their students, for the families, and we're kind of like a safe place for them. They can ask us questions, they can reach out to us. We don't speak more than another language, but we're getting really good at Google Translate and using our resources. And along with our new assistant, we use all the resources that we can to make sure that that message that you belong in our community goes out to all of our families and their students.
Next up, we're going to talk about some of our coaching services in the district and introduce you to some of those individuals. So to kick things off, we have 3 different levels of coaches in our district. First, we have our district multilingual teachers, who you just got a little sneak peek at. Then we have our district level coaches, and then we have our building level coaches. And to bring you back to our district multilingual teachers, now you get to learn their names. We have, I introduced you, don't I? I don't remember the order here. I think I do, right? We have Nina Espinos and we have Denise Valladares. And Nina works with our kindergarten through 5th graders, and Denise works at the middle school with our 6th through 8th graders. And then I'm going to turn it over to them to tell you a little bit more about what they do.
Hello again. So our job has 5 main parts. The first is student education. We just talked about we have our newcomer groups where we work with the students in a smaller group that's comfortable for them. And that's where we really see their personalities, because they aren't in the big classroom, so they're willing to take risks to talk to us. So what we see as a student is very different from what the bigger classroom sees, so it's very fun for us to have that connection with them. We also just do a lot of push and support with the homeroom. They're the
advisory.
The classes, pushing and support there. And then we do things like, what are fire drills? What is Halloween? Things like that that are cultural that they won't get elsewhere. So we do smaller things like that, but it's still education. Student assessment, every year we do the access test. And like Denise was saying, before the access test, when they first arrive, we do the language screener so we can figure out how much English they know in those 4 domains so that we can assist them better and help the teachers help them better. And we also enriched our family partnerships through our liaison opportunities. Denise and I were at your board right next to your popcorn table at the Fall Fest, giving away bags, and we met a lot of families there, so that was really fun. We do things like that throughout the year. And just meeting them, especially the ones right before school, really helps us. Just this past week, I had one of the teachers reach out saying that October 15th is coming up. Kids are going to be excluded if they don't get their vaccines in. Can you contact the parent? So I sent an email probably very similar to the one the nurse sent, but because I had a relationship with the parent, the mom emailed back right away and it got taken care of. So just that liaison really does matter.
So we also work on staying compliant with the state, and that involves making sure that we update PowerSchool as needed, making sure that the data that we receive from the student records is correct. And then we also do some coaching. So we work with the teachers in our buildings and we provide strategies for them to better meet the needs of their MLs, regardless of whatever level they're in their classroom. That might include like, how do you welcome a newcomer to your class? They're not going to show up on the first day of school. They might show up right before Thanksgiving break, or they might show up today because we had a new student today. So what are the tools that they have and what can they do to kind of catch up on those relationships that have been already building since the beginning of the school year, and to make them feel welcome in the class and to make them feel comfortable enough to say, hey, I need help. I haven't been here for the last month or so. What do I need to do? So a lot of that just is what we do. And then we also just kind of maybe carry out the message of just empathy. Just put yourself in their shoes, right? We really don't know from day one where they're coming from, what experiences they have. They're not going to share with us sometimes because of the different languages. So it might just take teachers taking a chance to use that Google Translate and make mistakes and laugh with them. Have them laugh at your language mistakes, right? So they feel more comfortable making their own mistakes. So it's all just like a learning process for everyone involved.
All right, next up we have our building level coaches, and their actual job description is, their job title is instructional coaches. So one of them is here with us this evening, and she's going to help describe their position and what they do, and this is Miss Kelly Brockway.
Hi. We wear a lot of hats, but our main goal is to provide tools and strategies to teachers to enhance student learning. We do that through a variety of avenues, many of which you'll see up here. We work with data. We are often a thought partner. Usually teachers will have issues or concerns or things that they want to improve on, and we're basically there to coach them along through it. And so that's a lot of where we spend our time. Also, doing instructional rounds, getting teachers into each other's classrooms to be able to learn from one another, really just being there as a support partner for our teachers. And Hannah should be in here too. She's also the district technology.
I'm the honorary instructional.
But she's the district technology coach, and we also partner with her a lot whenever there is technology involved in helping to support students with technology and the teachers with technology.
Before we move on, I'm going to totally put you on the spot because you're not going to do this yourself, but I'm going to take an extra minute. Can you highlight a little bit what you did with the coaches this morning and tell them about that?
Yeah, so at MacArthur we had instructional rounds, and last year it really moved to 3 times where all of the teachers were able to get into each other's classrooms on 3 different days, and it was run by Dr. Nystrom, Mr. Caper, and myself. This year they were so gracious to say, I think that the coaches could take this over. It's really direct, it's related to curriculum, and it's getting people in to see other teaching practices. And so myself and the 3 other coaches all came over, or were at MacArthur today, and with that we were able to have more groups, and that meant we got into more classrooms. So all teachers were visited about 2 times, and we got into, with each grade level, 3 classrooms to be able to see some strategies, and it's a fantastic learning experience for teachers. So it went very well. Thank you.
Sorry, I put you on the spot.
No, that's okay.
Next, we're going to highlight some of our district level coaches. So you can see 5 of them up there. We've got 2 of them here tonight that are going to tell you a little bit more about what they do. Hannah Sutter right here, and then Erin Lim as well.
Kelly kind of introduced me a little, so I'm our District Technology Integration Specialist, or Tech Coach for short. I worked with our lovely instructional coaches team when we were all technology integration specialists, and then when we made the move to make our building instructional coaches, I stayed as our technology coach, which was awesome. And what's so great is because we started out as kind of one coaching team, we still are a coaching team. So all of our coaches up here have experienced going through adaptive schools training, cognitive coaching training. And so what's great is that even though the people up here might have a specific content specialty similar to our ML coaches, we all have been through the same coaching training. And so we all kind of work with our teachers in very similar ways.
Yeah, so I'll represent the special ed side of coaching. We have 2 newbies in our coaching group. That would be me. I was a psychologist at Ross for the last few years. And then Darren, who's our new adaptive PE coach. Can you move to the next slide?
Everybody else.
I didn't hear what you're saying. Sorry about that.
And really, in terms of a special ed focus, we work with making sure our students have access and experience and inclusion in a variety of things. So, some of us focus on communication and assistive tech. Some of us focus on behavior, curriculum and instruction, and then some focus on some meeting students with motor needs and making sure they're included in PE. And our unified program as well is part of this.
All right, so to wrap it up, just a few more things, 3 more slides. So some of you have heard of Section 504, and so that program identifies students with disabilities who require accommodations but don't require specialized instruction, which is what special education is for students with IEPs. So accommodations look like extended time on a test or taking a break during the day, checking in with a social worker. So we have approximately 83 students with 504 plans, and that has gone up by 14 so far this year. So we've increased by 14 students. So homebound hospital instruction, that is also very specialized services for students who aren't able to attend school for a medical reason, whether they're hospitalized or they are home for a certain reason and they can't access school. There is an authorization from a physician that has to be completed, and then we're obligated to provide services either at the home, it could be done virtually, it depends on the student, and then also when students are hospitalized, they typically have a educational program within the hospital, and then we pay for that service.
And last but not least, we also provide McKinney-Vento services. So those are provided to students who may lack a fixed, regular, and adequate nighttime home. This involves any doubled up children, children's shelters, children living in hotels or motels, migratory children, possibly runaways and lockouts. We currently have 9 students in the district that qualify for these services. What we do is we provide them transportation to and from school from wherever they are currently living. Additionally, all their fees are waived, they receive free and reduced lunch, and we provide them lots of other supports throughout the year as we kind of find out what their needs are. We've gotten backpacks for them with all their school supplies at the start of this year. Around the holidays, we do some other things also for them. So
That is it. Any questions? That was a lot of information.
It's too bad we don't really provide many services for kids.
Yes.
in the
We don't
district.
have any services.
This was great. Just from my perspective on this isn't just a presentation for the board, right?
Yeah.
That this is information for all the parents and for the community at large, right? And so then just making sure that we get this on the website, right? Craig went to the PTO meeting earlier this week, and I think that was really, to kind of give an abbreviated version of it. Like, I think that's really important, right? That what you do and to make sure that gets communicated to the entire community, right? And I mean, I think I told this story like 3 or 4 times over. This is the reason I'm here, right? Is I saw you do this by yourself, right, in 2017, and I'm like, wow, I had no idea, right, about the great things that the special ed group is doing as community, right? And that was part of the reason why I became interested in being a part of the board. So just anything that we could do to make this presentation available and to be able to present it elsewhere, right? Craig, you just gave like 3 or 4 highlight slides about
Yeah, I didn't want to do Chris's work for her, so I did my slides.
But it'll be in the school scene tomorrow. The whole presentation will be linked there. But I was bragging on them earlier, and I told both Chris and Craig in their goals meetings. Everywhere else I go, and all the other superintendents that I talk to, their biggest challenges are these same kinds of needs. And I'm just so proud to be able to say, here's what we're doing. Here's how this has grown, here's where it started and where it's going, and this is needed across the state for other people to hear what we're doing, and I'm just so proud of all the work that you all do, because at the core of it, it's about helping our kids be successful. And there are financial implications and those kinds of things, but really it's about what's the system that we can put around our students, and whether they're multilingual or homeless or have special education needs, what can we do to help them be a part of our district? So great job. Thanks to all of you and all of our coaches, and it's just a great thing that we have going on.
Great, thank you.
Never mind, it went off on its own. Good, thank you.
What happened to Spencer?
I have Spencer here.
Oh, okay.
He's here, he just doesn't need to be up there. All right. The next item is an action item. I was able to finalize or get the final version of the document and included it in the board packet. This is an intergovernmental agreement that District 214 is leading the charge on. There's, as you can imagine, a wealth of data about our students when we think about our students pre-K through grade 12 within District 214 and all of the feeders. And to better collaborate, to better monitor, to better assess and evaluate, having access to all of that data is helpful. But because we're all different organizations and institutions, we need an intergovernmental agreement that says we're all going to follow the rules, we're going to be protecting student data, student privacy, and so we've drafted this agreement. We've all had our legal have eyes on it, but we're excited about the opportunity to collaborate better, and really for our benefit, we'll be tracking students not only in terms of high school placement, but what do District 23 students look like as sophomores, as juniors, as seniors? what's their college placement rate? That data all exists, and right now we have some avenues to get to it, but this will make it right at our fingertips.
Is this part of what we talked about last month? Was part of that, or is it a separate?
It's, well, no, yeah, it's a separate thing from the math coordination, but it's in the same vein
Right.
of, like, let's collaborate. 214 has all of this data, and we will send requests for, can you run this report for us? Can you run this report for us? And they're willing to give us access to the database for our students. So we just had to kind of figure out how to appropriately do so. But we will have a District 23 login to their database to look at our former students to track that with student information redacted, but we'll be able to see, give me the class of 2022 from MacArthur, what do they look like? What is their graduation rate? What are their grades like? What are their office referrals like? So we get a sense of, not individual students, but we get a sense of how are we doing preparing them for high school and beyond.
And then looking at this, it looks like they can start accessing the 7th graders so they can start seeing the.
Right, so that it from their benefit, it goes to what are the needs and the strengths of your kids and where are we going, so that we kind of blur more of those lines. We don't act as such completely separate entities. The kids are all our kids in the community, us and 214, and we have a vested interest in seeing them succeed beyond that, and 214 has a vested interest in seeing them be successful when they're with us. So the ways that we can support and collaborate to make things better for everybody. Again, Scott Rowe, I give him lots of props. He brought this as a let's formalize this, because it's been happening over the years, of course, but this really puts it in a more formal place.
That's great. And I think you answered my question. So it does take out the kid name. So you don't know, you can't track the kids. It's,
Correct.
It's,
yeah, it's not student specific.
what'd you say? I'm sorry.
De-identify.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I was saying.
Mm-hmm.
But like I don't have it in front of me, but I thought like some of it was about like placement, right? I recommend, but the data that comes from us to 214 would include individual student names, right?
Because that placement piece is we're telling you these are the kids that go there.
Right.
But for us, when we push kids who may not have participated in an accelerated program, let's say, and we say, yeah, they're ready for that honors track at high school, how do they do? And where are they succeeding and where are their gaps? Because then that can inform what we're doing at MAC with, okay, this is the kids that are in this range that we should be doing X, Y, Z to better prepare them.
That's why the agreement includes all the football and
Yeah.
privacy.
Yep.
That's great. I think it's a great idea.
Do we just from a like do our parents have to sign anything to kind of grant that?
No.
Okay.
Because it takes out their name, right? Like it's.
Well, it's as long, yeah. Right, the parents, because they're enrolling their kids in 214, they don't need to release their information from us.
Okay. No, I mean, it makes perfect sense. I just didn't know with all the regulations now, if we have to, if there's some kind of formal approval that's needed from the family. But I mean, it makes total sense what we're doing. Okay.
Yeah, we've been talking about wanting to do that.
Yeah, for sure.
Years.
For
It's so
sure.
awesome.
So, that's in the packet for approval.
Do we have a motion for approval?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Butlinski?
Yes.
Mr. Verdonis?
Yes.
Dr. Long? Dr. Long?
Yes.
Mrs. McClaney?
Yes.
Mr. Nordmark?
See.
Mr. Novak?
Yes. Motion carries 6.
The next item is also an action item. This is the approval of the landscaping proposals. Both Buildings and Sites and Finance Committees gave approval to move forward with the work, which is almost all done out in the front of Ross Sullivan and Grodsky. The sod is going in on Monday. It's looking excellent. This formalizes the contracts and the work.
Do we have a motion for approval for the two proposals?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Who motioned?
Brian.
Brian.
Thank you.
And
Second
then
by
Bryn.
Bryn.
Thank you.
It's okay. Mrs. Bowenski?
Yes.
Mr. Gradanis?
Yes.
Dr. Long?
Yes.
Mrs. McClaney?
Yes.
Mr. Nordmark?
Yes.
Mr. Novak?
Yes, motion carries 6-0.
Next item is an action item. It is approval of a 2-year contract extension for transportation services with First Student. It was shared at Finance, and again, kudos to Mrs. McPartland for negotiating what will be a really positive deal for us to continue with a good company.
For sure. Would anyone like the motion?
I motion to approve the new transportation agreement.
Motion by Brian.
Second.
Second by Bryn. Roll call.
Mrs. Bowenski?
Yes.
Mr. Gradanis?
Yes.
Dr. Long?
Yes.
Mrs. McClaney?
Yes.
Mr. Nordmark?
Yes.
Mr. Novak?
Yes. That motion carries 6-0.
Thank you again for all that, Amy, because I know that this is just so everybody knows, like, this is, I think we talked about this a little bit before, right, that we've been with 21, right, as kind of the kid, the little kid in the agreement that they were not interested in anymore, and so we're kind of on our own. I think that we, the term, you know, the increases were modest and favorable, but after, you know, double-digit increases that have been occurring for the last several years. So I think that this is a reasonable way forward for the next couple of years. So thank you for
incurred by others this year too.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, nice job.
Next we have the proposals for the LED lighting replacement project that was discussed at both Buildings and Sites and Finance. Again, this is a project that Amy and Ralph have done a lot of research on, including visiting other districts and other entities that have used this. Looking at not only the cost savings, energy savings of about $21,000 a year, but reductions in costs of bulbs and labor cost in replacing them. Really a nice positive opportunity for the district.
You just keep looking like, what's the catch?
Everybody that we talked to said, you're gonna pinch yourself and you're gonna say,
I know.
what's up?
The catch came in when I asked who's paying for it.
Yeah, you are.
They're like, oh yeah,
we are.
Everybody. It isn't comment out of the spirit, you know, just generosity. But
on your comment bill is that other programs that goes to fund these kinds of things. So.
Well, that was the catch.
Yeah.
Do we have a motion to approve?
A motion to approve the replacement program.
Second.
Mrs. Bowenski?
Yes.
Mr. Gradanis?
Yes.
Dr. Long?
Yes.
Mrs. McClaney?
Yes.
Mr. Nordmark?
Yes.
Mr. Novak?
Yes, motion carries 6-0.
Next item is an action item relative to our staffing plan. We have had a vacancy at MacArthur in a math interventionist position. Thanks to Dr. Nystrom and the faculty at Mac, we're able to meet those students' needs with some shuffling and rescheduling. Not employing that FTE is cost savings. However, we continue to see needs with substitute teaching. Our fill rate is about 60%, and so there's significant stress placed on our internal subbing, doubling up of classes, and so forth, where we're paying for the internal subs as well. So my recommendation is to add 2 full-time substitute teachers, as we've had in previous years. We have had 4 that would provide them with some benefits and salary for a full-time position, serving across the district, wherever we have vacancies.
Are these tenurable positions or?
They're not because
just-
they're 1 year at a time.
That's what I was
contracts.
thinking, okay,
Mhm.
thank you.
And then they were, I mean, obviously I know there's never a day that there's not a need for a sub,
Oh,
but
yeah.
they have something to do every day.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be great if there was ever a day that you needed 0 subs?
Has it ever happened?
No.
Nope. Alright, super.
But is that, so is that, I don't see what the net, is it a net slight increase?
It's a net zero.
Really
Yeah,
flat.
it's 74,000 in, for the FTE and then 235s for the two,
Slight savings.
35 a sub. Yeah. Depending on what everybody picks for coverage and insurance and those kinds of things.
Gotcha. And they would be roaming for the whole district, right?
Yeah. And that gives us the ability to pre-book people as far out in advance as we might need to, because we know that they're gonna be here, so. It's not gonna solve our problem, but it'll help minimize it.
Alright, would anyone care to move for the addition of 2 full-time substitutes for 24-25?
So moved.
Becky?
Second.
Second by Brian. Roll call.
Mrs. Botwinski?
Yes.
Mr. Grodanis?
Yes.
Dr. Long?
Yes.
Mrs. McClaney?
Yes.
Mr. Nordmark?
Yes.
Mr. Novak?
Yes, motion carries 6-0.
Next item is also an action item. At our upcoming III conference, the district is allowed to send a representative to the delegate assembly. Is there anyone that would like to nominate someone to act as our delegate?
I would.
And who might you nominate?
I move to nominate Becky McClaney to serve as our representative at the ISAB Delegate Assembly.
I'll second.
Alrighty then.
I'm really happy to do that.
Shall we see if anyone wants to go against that?
Spencer?
He's shaking his head. Go ahead.
Mrs. Botwinski?
Yes.
Mr. Grodanis?
Yes.
Dr. Long?
Yes.
Mrs. McClaney?
Yes.
Mr. Nordmark?
Absolutely.
Mr. Novak?
I will side on that. Yes.
Do you want it?
I really don't.
He just doesn't think it's dead.
I'm good with you doing it.
It's a lot of fun. I like it.
I agree. It's a lot of fun. Motion carries 6-0.
Good. So we will set up a time,
That's
we'll
fine.
review the packet, and then provide at our November meeting a directed vote for how the board wishes Becky to represent you.
Is it published?
Yeah,
It
the
just came
the
out last
resolutions packet is ready.
Is there anything like
I haven't
wild
even,
in
I
it?
haven't even looked through it. I don't believe so.
I feel like they talked about it last week at the dinner. we
Yeah,
went
the
to.
dinner, they went through a little bit of it.
It's Anna's last hurrah.
Yeah. The next item is an information item. Dr. Curtis prepared the annual summary of categorical grants. We report that out publicly each year, and it's shared in a public forum, which Dr. Curtis did at the PTO meeting earlier this week.
These are always so awesome this year. I love
Yeah.
this. It's so cool to see how many grants we get.
That was a neat one to show to PTO too. Those are,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any questions for Dr. Curtis on that?
Great work.
Next, yeah. Next item is also an information item. It is the FY 2026 budget calendar presented at Finance. And any questions for Mrs. McPartland? And the last item is also an information item. It is a new requirement this year, compliance with excess fund accumulation report. Any info on that you need to share?
Yeah, so I had just included a brief overview. It's Public Act 1030394, which requires that school districts calculate the combined annual average expenditures of the operational funds, which is for this purpose
the education, transportation, and O&M funds. If the combined amount exceeds 2.5 times the district's average combined expenditures in the 3 prior fiscal years, then we need to submit to the state a plan for fund balance reduction. In compliance with the act, as of June 30th, 2024, the combined fund balances in the education, O&M, and transportation fund total was $4,291,301, and the average fund expenditures for the funds was $24,631,030. So District 23 does not meet the threshold, which would require a plan. So just sharing that information.
Just shot. Just
surprise.
Just
missed it.
We're so close.
So close.
Wow. Okay. Passing that along.
All right, moving on. I think that was the last item, right?
Yeah.
Moving on to old business. Do we have any old business to discuss? Hearing no old business, how about any new business? It looks like we might have.
Yeah, just would like to see if we can pull a quorum together on November the 7th. If we have enough of a response, we could move the entire board meeting date, but my understanding thus far is that we likely won't be able to move the entire meeting. So the 7th would be a very abbreviated meeting with one agenda item. That would be the presentation of the tax levy and setting the date for the public hearing. That has to be done 30 days prior to the December meeting, and we're short by 1 day.
Right?
One
We
day.
got 1 day
5
more.
minutes.
So if we have
I'm good on the 7th.
4 people,
I can be here on the 7th.
I may have to attend fall parent-teacher conference.
I was gonna say, I actually might be a
Hard
little
pass.
late because I do have a conference that night.
but we can still schedule, we can look at a time. It doesn't have to be evening, it's gonna be likely a 10-minute.
I'm good.
Yeah. So that's 3,
Don, I can meet during the day, but I can't meet at night.
okay?
I could do during the day.
I could do during the day.
That
Yeah, I've
that
actually been
may
able to do
change
it.
things.
Okay.
If we're talking day.
Oh,
but
if you're
I don't
talking
know.
day, if we do it after the Veterans
Are-
Day Assembly, if we're all coming to that, I could be here for that too.
Are you thinking day then?
We can schedule it whenever is convenient, yep.
That's November 2nd.
Yes.
I had planned to go to the
Work
Veterans Day,
calendar.
so we could do that.
Is this just for the short meeting or is this for the
This is
entire?
it'll just be with those 2 agenda items. Presentation of the levy and then the setting of the date, which will be our next our December board meeting.
Are we comfortable with sometime afternoon?
Sure.
For you? Yes.
What was the time there? Sorry.
He said afternoon.
Yeah, I'm fine.
All right.
Okay.
Cool.
We'll schedule something and send it out.
I'm just
on
gonna
the
block
7th.
my afternoon.
Thank you.
Got it.
You said that's the Veterans.
It is the Veterans Day Assembly.
That's first thing in the morning. That's like 9 until
Pshaw.
10:30 or so.
I won't make that then.
I'll be here.
That's good. You're just
I'll
gonna stay
represent
whole
the
time?
board. I'll just stay the whole time.
That's
What are we gonna do for lunch?
We can
Oh, we can do other
Resolutions.
things. We can do resolutions that day. Look at that. A whole day with me.
And I don't have
Great flowers.
any need for executive session unless there are other topics.
Nope. Well, all right then. I think we can move to adjournment then potentially, yeah? We have a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Motion by Brian. Second by Carol. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?